Good morning, everyone. Right, can you guys deal with my shirt being out of canter? Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Britain is under attack, and my camera is not focusing right. Okay, so Britain is under attack, guys. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about the chaos that's erupted in London overnight. I'm going to be talking about sabotage, and I'm also going to be saying how we, each and every member of the public in the United Kingdom, is paying for this with our tax dollars, with our, with the cost of living, with the energy prices, with everything right now. But before I get into that, let me paint everyone a picture. Excuse me. Let me paint everyone a picture, all right? Imagine it's the darkest days of World War III, right? Just imagine right now it's the darkest days of World War III, and Britain is in, it's official, it's official. Keir Starmer came out and he gave the big speech. He gave the big speech that Britain is now in a state of war. Britain's declared war or whatever, And we're in a state of full-scale war now. I'm just paint that as the scene right now, okay? And there's missile strikes and churches are being set on, these missile strikes are burning down churches and destroying, the bad guys are targeting critical infrastructure. They're targeting substations because they know the air defense around the airports are strong. So they target the substations that are feeding those airports, Manchester, Stansted, and these long-range missile strikes are taking out water pumping stations. They're taking out critical infrastructure, and everybody is in a state of war. We're all struggling. Would it be any different to what's happening right now in the United Kingdom? Because honestly, guys, I've been alive for I think 44 years or something. I cannot remember a time, and nobody's picking up on this, guys. Nobody's picking up on this. I cannot remember a time in my life when there's been so many burst water pipes flooding areas and causing evacuations, where there's been so many random fires at substations, when there's been so many, mysterious fires at storage depots, where there's been, churches spontaneously combusting. I would say that this is sabotage. Whatever you want to, whatever bracket you guys want to put that in, I would say Britain is under attack right now. And I don't think that the government want to admit it, but we already know from Raven Maths that it would take 6 million people working around the clock. That's just to protect the substations, right? 6 million people. I did the maths. I can't remember how I got to that number, but I did. I got to 6 million people. It's not feasible to protect all these places. So I think the government are just putting their fingers in their ears and hoping for the best. I do. I think the government are just putting their fingers in their ears and absolutely hoping for the best. So I'm going to jump onto this straight away, guys, because if you guys didn't know, there is a huge flood right now. There's flooding, power cuts, and homes have been evacuated in London. So Caledonian Road, flooding live. Power cut from homes, shops, as burst water main repair paused. Residents and businesses evacuated from properties as water swamps large areas of the Caledonian Road. The area being, now this is, I'm pretty sure this is in North London. I think this is in Islington. Emergency teams from Thames Water battled through the night to repair the damaged pipe, temporarily restoring water, but further inspections later revealed a further split. As a result, repair work has been halted this morning while engineers carry out an on-site safety assessment, raising concerns about further disruption for local residents. Islington Council previously said that residents have had to evacuate from their homes and businesses, with London Fire Brigade confirming they carried out rescues. So literally right now, guys, this is happening in the United Kingdom, but nobody's talking about it. It just seems to be one of the, I mean, honestly, the scenes from Islington, this is, you know, this is like national disaster stuff. This is absolute national disaster stuff. 11,000 homes have been affected with power cuts. Georgia Bell, our reporter at the scene, has been speaking to workers involved in the emergency repairs. She has been told that engineers must first repair the burst pipe before they can begin on restoring the carriageway. Damage is believed to extend across the width of the road, with disruption expected for the next couple of weeks. The affected area will need to be excavated and a shaft installed to ensure it's safe for crews to carry out the repair work. It's understood that the burst pipes are relatively rare and largely caused by aging infrastructure and certain weather conditions, which can cause pipes to snap. I'm calling bullshit on this, guys. All right, I'm calling absolute BS on this. I don't know, and I want to caveat that I could be wrong, and I absolutely could be wrong. I've been warning for such a long time about the water supply in the United Kingdom. It's so ridiculous. And the reason I say this is because every day, right, literally every day, well, probably not every day, like every week at least, I drive past a huge exposed water pipe. I know exactly where it is. I know where it runs. I know that I could have access to that water pipe maybe for days. I could probably cut into that water pipe and have unrestricted access to that water pipe for days. I could be going full Batman, you know, Batman Begins on that, and nobody would know for days. Think about it. Wherever you live, guys, wherever you live, look, guys, I know where that water pipe that water pipe goes straight into a town as well. So the water situation is crazy, guys. And every time I see a burst water pipe, a burst this, a burst that, and it's of catastrophic nature, my natural go-to right now is this is sabotage. It's in the house. How much do you guys look? You can go, I can go, you can go to like Tool Station, or what's the other one? Screwfix. I prefer Tool Station. It's a bit closer as well. Anyway, you can go to one of these B&Q, whatever, Wix. You can buy a high-powered cordless drill, right? You can. Anyone can buy them. You don't need a license for a high-powered drill. Trust me, guys, all right? Anyone can buy one. You can also buy, a very large steel drill bit. And guess what? Put those two things together with a water pipe, and guess what you've got? Yeah, you've got burst water pipes. Put those things together with certain chemicals that people can mix together in the United Kingdom, and we know they've already done them. You've got a recipe to poison people's water supplies. So this is what's happening right now in the United Kingdom, guys. I believe Britain is under attack. And if you're joining for us for the first, if you're joining from the first time, guys, and you've not done so already, please make sure you hit those buttons down below. The like, comment, subscribe, bell notification really helps me out when you guys do that. It does. And I get giddy. I do. I get a little bit of a giddiness. When you guys do that. Also, it's come out today that the French police have allowed 2/3 of migrant crossings to reach Britain, despite the UK sending millions to Macron. So if you guys want to know what's happening here, nothing's changed since what I said when I went over there in December. I think I should go. I don't know if I should go. I might go over there again when it's warmer weather. So we are sending, and we're paying for all this, guys. Trust me, we are paying for the migrants to come over. We are paying for the French to do nothing. It just seems like the British taxpayer is just a constant cash machine. Does it not? Is it me, guys? Is it me, or does it feel like Britain is just a cash? We're the world's cash machine. I mean, there's talk about giving Gibraltar back. How much is that going to cost us? Hey, Spain, do you want this island? Yes. Do you want some money to go with it? Yes. How much? How much are you going to give us? A couple of billion? Can you make it more? Yeah. How much? Go on, ask him. Ask him. No, I can't. I'll never say yes. A couple of billion more? Okay. Can you pay for the legal fees as well, Kia? Yes. Because this is right and proper. I said yesterday. I did. I said yesterday. I said it today as well. Like, can you imagine if there's an alien invasion and, like, you know, and the RAF are shooting aircraft down? Keir Starmer will be like, "Oh, that was an illegal shot. Yep. Did it? You know, you infringed that alien's intergalactic rights." Like, Keir, they're coming to suck our adrenochrome, mate. We kind of need to put that one to bed, mate. Well, you know, we need to be held to the highest standards. Well, what do you want, Keir? Do you want to hold me to the highest standards while I'm defending the planet and stopping everybody's adrenochrome getting sucked out? Or should we just let them come and then we can stand there and say, yes, but we stood up to intergalactic standards? What does that even mean? It's so ridiculous. And I think it makes it, and I think it makes it more relevant when I say that. When I say intergalactic standards, you're like, what? There's no such thing. Exactly. There's no such thing as international law either. Anyway, so the United Kingdom is currently negotiating with French authorities to renew the deal. Which sees Britain pay millions to fund the French police attempting to clamp down on the crossings. It's not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. It took me 30 seconds. It took me 30 seconds to give you the answer. And the answer is not paying the French police, because you're not paying the French police. You're paying the French government. That money goes into a pot. Macron goes, hotty, ho. Goes and buys some onion. Do you know what, actually? I like it in France. I like it in France. I shouldn't be... I do. I like it in France. They're good people. Just normal people trying to live their lives, right? And what you've got to understand is all these millions to France, another 100 million, 200 million, a billion, a trillion. It's not doing anything. Do you know why it's not doing anything? Because those police officers on the front line, they ain't getting paid any more money. And those police officers in northern France, right? Tactical support units or whatever you call them. Those French police are there to look after the French public, right? Like we did on here, when I give you the Raven maths, okay? In the United Kingdom, the crime rate per capita in the United Kingdom is 87 to 107 per 1,000. So let's just go with the Raven 10%, right? Let's just go with that, all right? They're the only numbers I've got. They might be wrong, they might be higher, they might be lower, whatever. They're the numbers I've got, right? Okay, we'll go with 10%, right? So let's say that, let's say that the migrant camps in Calais have got 10,000 people, right? That's 1,000 people more in that very small area committing crime. Because if we go with, what the numbers I've got in Britain, we'll go with 10% per capita. Again, you could argue it's high, you could argue it's low, whatever. They're the numbers I'm going with, right? Doesn't really matter. So the French police now are looking and they're saying, right, I've got 10,000 people in this migrant camp, right? Which means 1,000 are criminals from the Raven maths. Did you hear the story as well in the news yesterday? An Afghan who was claiming asylum, trying to claim asylum in Austria. He did something very bad to a woman, the thing that you guys are thinking that an Afghan migrant would do to a woman. He was arrested. He was then released on bail. Guess what? Guess where he ended up? Can anyone guess where he ended up? Yeah, he ended up in the United Kingdom, right? and he's been given permission to stay in the United Kingdom now. So he's never served. He's not answered for that crime. He's not answered. And you know, my taxes are paying for that. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a downward slope. We're in a downward slope. And I digress. So if the police in northern France, right, they are, you know, they're trying to protect the people of northern France because guess what? They're police officers. That's what they do. You can argue whether the French have got a two-tier police system. I don't know. And then the French police are not getting paid any more money. Nobody's giving them a bonus for cutting boats or anything. And 1,000 of those migrants want to leave. Well, that's 100 criminals by the maths I just gave you guys. That's 100 criminals want to leave. So what do you think the French police are going to do? Do you think they're going to say, no, you criminals stay here? No, criminals stay here. Because Keir Starmer's given Macron £1 million. They don't care. And look, guys, I actually support them. I really do. I really do support them. You know, when you see this firsthand, you know, I'm British, clearly. I support Britain. But I understand what's happening in northern France. Imagine that. Imagine if you lived in northern France, and it's terrifying, guys. It is. I drove through one of these migrant camps, and when you the big camp is just outside. If you're driving, I can't remember what the road name is, but if you're driving, excuse me. If you're driving from Dunkirk to Calais, west to east, if you drive early in the morning, you know, the roads are empty. You don't see anyone. If you drive around 12 o'clock, the whole place is saturated with what can only be described as young Middle Eastern African men. That's all I can describe it as. You know, and it's quite intimidating. If you don't have nerves of steel like me and a steely-eyed will, you know, it's quite intimidating. But as you drive through this area and you then drive around, you know, the countryside around it, because that's the main road. There's these little hamlets, I guess, maybe 3, 4, 10 houses, like in little, in little segments. And the roads everywhere is just saturated, you know, because there's the big migrant camps. And then if you drive into the countryside, like just in random bushes, there's another little camp. Then there's another little camp. And these people are just walking the street. You know, they're just roaming. Can you imagine living there? I can't. You would be terrified. You would be absolutely terrified. Now, the French are blaming the British for that. And the British are blaming the French. I don't think it's the French's fault, guys. I honestly don't think it's the French's fault. I think it's Britain's fault for giving these people. Again, it's a difficult one. It's such a difficult conundrum. You know, if you don't give these people hotels, right? They're going to be living wild. They're going to be living in the woods. They're going to be there's going to be a higher probability that they're going to turn to crime, right? And they're going to go into the criminal underworld. If you give them a nice warm bed and 3 meals a day, they're kind of going to want to go back there, right? Because it's easy. It's honestly, guys, the whole migrant situation in the United Kingdom and across the West, it's unbelievable. It's unfathomable. It's not going to stop anytime soon. And we are paying for this. We're paying for this with our taxes. We're paying for this, you know, with the cost of living. We're paying for this with money that I guess essentially taxes that we send over to France. Anyway, right, guys, listen, I'm going on a bit of a side quest. I've not covered half the stuff I want to cover. We are talking today about Britain under attack. Right at the beginning of this live stream, I said to you guys, I said, right, listen, imagine the scenario. Britain is in a stage of world war. Keir Starmer, he's there in his like camouflage jacket and he's got like, you know, he's looking mean in the camera. I'm Keir Starmer. We'll fight. Sorry, I was going to say something that I shouldn't have then. No, I'm not going to say it. We will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them, all the rest of it. I can't imagine Keir Starmer saying that, but whatever. Keir Starmer's had a state of war, and all of a sudden we are, there's attacks on our missiles hitting our churches. They're going up in flames. Missiles hitting critical infrastructure. Airports are going down. All these missiles. It wouldn't be any different to what's happening right now. And I've been talking this morning, guys, about the huge floods in London right now. Huge floods. 11,000 houses, I think. Hang on, let me get this right. I think 11,000 houses have been evacuated. Let me give... sorry. 11,000 homes affected. So there's been huge floods. Every time I see one of these huge floods, my natural go-to now is sabotage, because it's very easy to do. It's very effective, and it's non-attributable. Right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. I'm on the chat, guys. I'm on the chat. I'm on the chat. Right. Right, listen, guys, if you're on and you've not done so already, can you please make sure you hit those buttons? Paul J is saying Keir Starmer rewards all these. Yeah, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. Didn't Keir Starmer change the law so you only get a caution or something? I don't know. I might be wrong on that. If somebody knows... Slim is saying refit some super tankers and keep the dodgy buggers on them. I think you're absolutely right. Googleinos is saying the Turkey jet crash I sent you. Yeah, so Googleinos sent me an article earlier about a Turkish, was it an F-16? Turkish F-16s crashed. Now there's been a spat of there's been a spat of high-end fighter jets going down. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is, guys. But what I am thinking is, I'm just being suspicious of everything now, because we are in a pre-war phase right now. Donald Trump's moving ever closer to strikes on Iran. We've said on this channel it's going to come Saturday. So it does look like the whole world is preparing. Again, it could just be... It could just be like, these pilots are training, they're pushing their aircraft, the pilots are pushing their aircraft harder, and as a consequence, they're having failures. Caveman is saying, Poland leader told Starmer, you shouldn't have let them... I agree, guys, I agree. It doesn't end well. It does not end well. But it's here now. It is absolutely here. It's here, and there's no going back, guys. There is no going back. Christian and Defender is saying, you are paying for your own demise. We are indeed. And don't you feel better for it, though? Don't you feel better for it that you're paying for this because we are, we're keeping to international law? Walter Scott is saying, I did buttons. I don't know what that means. I did buttons. I like chocolate buttons. I do. I love good chocolate buttons. Right, guys. Listen, guys, if you're putting comments on, try and just put it out so I know what it means, because sometimes I may have missed your previous comments. Rod Panhard is saying the Schengen zone was the stupidest idea ever. Just allows wrong-uns free range through Europe. Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, guys, but all through Europe, like, you don't have to show your passports and there's no border crossing points. So, I mean, the argument, right? Okay, so the argument here is, if you're a wrong-un, you can cross these borders anyway, right? That's the argument, like, for example, in Ukraine, right? People know how to get across the border. It has a land border with Poland. People know people are going to know where, like, the metaphorical gaps in the fences are, the chinks in the armor. So the argument with the Schengen zone is, right, the Schengen zone is only stopping and slowing down and being a faff for people who are law-abiding citizens. criminals and people who want to smuggle across these borders, you know, they're just moving across anyway, and we can't stop them because you can't. You know, think about all the little roads and the fields and the fences, you know, adjoining these, you know, France and Germany. You know, you've got all these countries in Europe, and it's very difficult. It's impossible. You know, it's impossible to stop these things. However, in the United Kingdom, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We live on an island, right? We do. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we live on an island. You wouldn't think so, right? But we live on an island. We can absolutely close our borders. We can definitely close our borders. It's real easy. Big B is saying, let's release all our prisoners serving life and give them a one-way ticket to France to never return. I don't know what that means. I don't know why you're gonna have, guys. You're gonna have to like throw it out there more and explain things better. Googleinos is saying Iran has issued a NOTAM, which is a notice to airmen, along the Iran-Azerbaijan border. Didn't the Americans? I'm sure the Americans said any British. The Americans wasn't asking British. I'm sure the Americans the other day said any American citizens still in Iran need to evacuate, and I'm pretty sure they said. I think it may have actually been Armenia. I think it might be Azerbaijan or Armenia. I can't remember. But basically, what the Americans have said is, listen, if you're an American citizen and you are in Iran, you need to get out now and do not rely on the US government. That was a huge combat indicator, right? And Munchkin is saying it was based off Portland in Dorset. It was used as a hotel for migrants, but apparently they said it was claustrophobic. I don't know what that means. Are you talking about that barge, the big barge? Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are joining for the first time, or if you've been on, we are talking today about Britain under attack. Just think about all the things that have been set on fire in the United Kingdom over the last 12, 18, 24 months. It's unbelievable. Chaos erupted in London last night. 11,000 homes affected. The water's gone off. The electricity's gone off. Houses have been evacuated. But don't worry. It's just a burst pipe, another burst pipe, another substation set on fire, and we're paying for all this because normally, the way things work, you don't want to, people don't, as a rule, people don't set their own, people don't set their own stuff on fire, right? If you go out and set your, I don't know, wherever you live. Look, guys, wherever you do this as a thought experiment, right? Wherever you live in the United Kingdom, right? Do you know where an electricity substation is, right? Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, guys. Right, I've got something breaking here. Right, 40 minutes ago. Right, let me share this with you. Give me a second. Men armed with axe and knives enter mosque during Ramadan prayers. Police at Manchester Central Mosque hunt for a second suspect. 2 men armed with multiple weapons, including an axe and a knife, entered a Manchester mosque during Ramadan prayers. Right, let me try and find more on this, guys. This has literally just come out. We're entering civil war, guys. We absolutely are. Let me search this. Give me a second. Right. Give me a second. Give me a second. This is breaking news, guys. Breaking news. Let me get this. I'm going to share this with you. I'm reading this in real time. Man arrested after axe carried into mosque. A man has been arrested after allegedly walking into a mosque carrying weapons, including an axe and a knife. Police were called to Manchester Central Mosque in Victoria Park around 8:40 last night, Tuesday, to reports that two men were acting suspiciously. A statement from the mosque said volunteers had challenged one of the men after they walked in during Taraweeh prayers. I don't know what that means. Taraweeh prayers. And called the police. Greater Manchester Police said the man in his 40s was arrested on suspicion of carrying an offensive weapon, possession of Class B drugs, while the force is attempting to locate a second man. In a statement, Manchester Central Mosque said a white man wearing a high-vis jacket and carrying a large bag accompanied by a black man had walked in while worshippers were praying during the holy month of Ramadan. Right, I'll do an update on that later on, guys. It's going to start because now you've got to understand the reaction from this. So people in the mosques now, they'll be talking in the mosques and they'll be saying, yeah, we're under attack. We're under attack. We need to secure our area. We need to find these people. You know, it's fucking chaos and war is coming on our streets. And guess what? Guess what? We invited it and we are paying for it. We are very soon going to be in that situation, ladies and gentlemen, in the United Kingdom, where the police ain't going to come. The police, and you're going to phone 999. I promise you this will happen at some point. You will phone 999 and you just won't even get an answer. Slim Yin is saying aliens are gay, always probing you. Benedict Wainman is saying, I think it's all set up to take the focus away from the Jews. What's been happening with the Jews? Tell me what's happening with the Jews. I think we need to differentiate between Jewish people and yeah. Can you explain what you mean by that, Bernadette? And like, give me more context. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, Slim Yin, a white man. Maybe he's a white van. Maybe he was a white van man. Young Bob was attacked as well. His cameras are broken. Yeah, has everyone seen that video? So there's quite a few videos of young Bob being attacked. The videos that are the most disturbing are not young Bob's videos, but the videos filmed by the people who were spectators, right? Because you can see him get surrounded. And look, guys, I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East and I know how bad things can go. And young Bob, he's young, right? He's young. If he'd been to the Middle East and seen these mobs as, what's the word I'm looking for? If he'd seen these mobs as quickly, if he'd seen these mobs quickly and ferociously assemble as I have, you go from nothing. So there's a march. I think it's the March of the 13th Imam, right? Do you know what? I think there's a video of this on YouTube, right? So there's this, I think it's the March of the 13th Imam. I don't know which one it is, but if you live in Iraq, right? Baghdad especially. So guys, listen, for context, if you guys don't know, I used to live in Baghdad for 5 years, maybe 4 years and change or whatever. But I lived in Baghdad for a fair amount of time. To a context that when I speak Arabic, I have a Baghdad accent, which I think is pretty cool. I do. I think it's pretty cool. I was in Dubai asking for some shoes or something, and he said, Baghdadi. And I said, what? He said, He said, I speak Baghdadabic, which is a very particular accent in the Middle East. But anyway, sorry. Enough about how awesome I am. Right, let's get on to this. So there's something called, I think it's if you live in Baghdad, right, like literally like maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, there's these marches, right? And you see them all with the flags. And some of these flags are brutal. You know, there's this one particular one. I think it's the March of the 13th Imam, or I don't know. Anyway, and as a security contractor, you have something called a Kodan radio. It's like it's a stratospheric radio. It's like an ultra long distance radio. Anyway, you get this antenna on it, and what some of the locals did, they put a flag on this antenna, right? So they put a flag on this antenna. Anyway, one of the project managers got on the radio and he's like, mate, get that fucking flag off your antenna. Just get it down now. The client's asking, the person who's paying the bills is asking, why are we driving around with flags on our Kodan? So one of the Western, a white man, team leaders climbed on the vehicle and pulled the flag off. Jesus. Honestly, I've never seen anything as quickly and as violent as this. All the locals on the camp, all the Iraqis went fucking batshit crazy. They dragged this guy out the car. They were. I'm not going to tell you what happened, right? I'm not going to tell you what happened. A mob, and I don't know where these people came from. They just came out of the woodwork, like fucking, I don't know, like something that comes out of the woodwork. And they mobbed this vehicle. Bear in mind, this is like maybe 150 grand armored vehicle. They were like wild animals, smashing the windows, thick armored glass. Obviously it takes a while to smash this. They had a client in the back. They had the VIP in the back. So they said, right, it's not in fairness. They said, look, everybody else get out. We only want him who took the flag down. Anyway, so everybody, they got the other guys out and they were quite peaceful with them. And they got this guy. And there's a videos on this on YouTube. Go and search security company vehicle mobbed. Baghdad, maybe 2011, 2012, right? There's videos on YouTube. It'll be on X. They got this guy out. They mobbed him. I'm not gonna. You guys can use your imagination, right? They mobbed him and they took him. Luckily, they managed to get him back. But people don't realize how quick this mob can mobilize an attack. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, because absolutely none of those people will be in the United Kingdom now. None of those people, because they'll all have criminal records, right? And when you search their CRB, it'll say, oh, hang on a minute. You guys did this real bad thing. Oh, hang on a minute. Do you think any of those guys will be working security? I don't know. Yes, I have lots of security working for high-end British security companies in the Middle East. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, let's see how that one turns out. Right, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Listen, guys, we are talking about the country that we live in, the country that we love. We are talking about Britain under attack right now. Britain's under attack. I'm calling it. We are under multiple layers of attack. Chaos has erupted in London. There's been house evacuations. 11,000 homes have been affected. But don't worry, the power plants, the water, it's all just a burst pipe, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry. Nobody went in there with a DeWalt drill. Caveman is saying, Starmer, take the flag away from the locals and the righteous and return the speakers and 5 times prayer per day, Starmer bowed to cooks. I don't know what that means, Caveman. Caveman, I don't know what that means. I think what you're saying is Starmer took the flags away from the locals and the righteous and returns. I'm not sure where you're going with that. Yeah, so Lisa Jane is saying household bills are to fall in April after charges shake-up. So it's not really a charges shake-up. It's the price of energy has come down, and it came down a long time ago. And now the energy companies are coming down with their energy prices as well. But the price of energy went down a long time ago. Oh, hang on a minute. Googleinos is saying, according to unverified reports in a highly unusual event, British destroyer and a German destroyer have entered the Mediterranean Sea and are rapidly heading towards Israeli coast. Right, let's see what this is all about. Oh, excuse me. Right, I'm not getting anything from that. I don't know where you're getting that from, Googleinos. Right, I can't find anything on the mainstream. If it's just happened, if that's just been announced, you know, sometimes it takes a while to jump takes a while to go through. If they are putting out headlines about the household bills falling, then something else is about to double in price. So it's the energy. The price of energy has fallen. Like the price of energy fell months ago. Like months. I can't remember when exactly, but the price, like the wholesale cost of energy, fell a long time ago. It's just here in the United Kingdom, we get absolutely fleeced for our energy prices, and they can do what they want, basically. So even though their raw material, the price has gone down, they can put the price up if they want, and you can't do anything about it. Big B is saying, living in Bradford, young bog situation is pretty common. Gangs appear in seconds. Big B, do you live in Bradford? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, look, guys, this is why everybody needs to just be careful, right? Everybody needs to be careful. You know, I think young Bob now, I think he's had a wake-up call. He's had a wake-up call. I think he's got off lightly. I do. I think young Bob's got off lightly. When I was watching the images of not young Bob's footage, like that, guys, I know you've seen it. There's footage out there of like the other people, like the spectators, basically filming this on their phones, or I assume it's their phones. And when he gets surrounded, I was I honestly, I was terrified for him. Even though I knew the outcome, right? Even though I knew the outcome, when you've seen this before and when you've witnessed it in real time and seen people with house bricks, you know how bad these things can go. It's honestly, we're in such a stage of voting's not going to get us out of this, guys. Voting's not going to get anyone out of this. It really isn't. BJB is saying, remember the Alamo. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit too young to remember the Alamo. Well, Fiona, any plans for today? Okay, I guess you guys are talking among yourselves. Yeah, Matthew Hopkins. Matthew Hopkins, sorry. I thought that was Matthew Hoopinkins. Sorry. Matthew Hopkins is saying, man arrested after carrying an axe into a mosque. Yeah. So a white man so the if you guys are just joining for the first time, I'm gonna jump back on like straight away and do this as a short live stream update. A man has been arrested after carrying an axe into a mosque, and then obviously now Greater Manchester Police said a man in his 40s was arrested on suspicion of carrying an offensive weapon and possession of a Class B drug, while the force is attempting to locate a second man. Now, there was a statement by the mosque. There was a statement by the mosque somewhere where they said, do you know what? Maybe this has been changed. Has this been updated? Updated 38 minutes ago. No, that doesn't work. Anyway, it said the other weapons, including a knife, a hammer, were then found. Like, I don't know. Maybe he was just a handyman. Honestly, man. Maybe he was trying to go in there to who knows? Right. Police called and the white man was arrested, but the black man had... That's fucking racist. That's fucking racist. That's racist. Can you imagine? Let's change this, right? And look, guys, I don't mean to be disrespectful here to anyone. I'm really not disrespectful to anyone. Let me be quite clear before I say this, right? I think all humans need to stop fighting among each other. We need to stop having wars, right? We should stop building bombs and tanks and things that kill each other, and we should build spaceships and go into the cosmos, right? That's where I am, and I've always said that. I've not changed my mind, and I will always continue to say that, right? Look at this. Police were called, and the white man was arrested, but the black man had left, right? Let's just change these words, right? Police were called and the brown man was arrested, but the black man had left. What the fuck? Like, is this where we're going now? The mosque said it believes the swift and responsible actions of its volunteers could have prevented a far more serious situation. The Muslim community in the UK has experienced a notable rise in threats and hostilities over the recent years, it said. Fucking hell. How many churches have been burnt down? And how many churches are going to get burnt down? Listen, guys, I am going to come on and I'm going to do a specific update on that. Every time I read this stuff, Tracy Smith is saying 9 days of food before. I don't know what that means. Sean, make babies in a lab equal. Guys, I don't know what we're talking about here. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking today about Britain under attack. I'm calling it right now. Britain is under attack. Chaos erupted last night in London. What am I talking about? Well, I'll let you guys know. There was a huge flood. Now, every time I hear the word flood, I naturally think of sabotage. I might be wrong. I need to clarify that. I could be wrong. Whether I'm wrong or right, I guess it doesn't matter, because that's the premise of sabotage, right? You don't want the bad guys or the good guys or the other guys knowing, the other team. Because, I mean, in everybody's perspective, they're the good guy, right? In everybody's opinion, they are the good guy. Unless you're like Dr. Evil or something. And the reason I say this about the floods, about anything to do with water, where I live, maybe, I don't know, less than a kilometer away. Yeah, but whatever. Less than a kilometer away. It doesn't really matter. Probably drive past there once a week. There is a huge exposed water pipe. huge exposed water pipe. I know exactly where that is, right? I could probably drill into that pipe and be there for about a week before anybody noticed, before anybody came and asked me what I was doing. I could probably be there for a week. Nobody goes there. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? So how many more of these exposed pipes are there? How many more of these, when we talk about sabotage, right? Sabotaging a gas main, very dangerous, right? Very dangerous. Like there's all sorts of things that could go smoky boom boom, right? So it's just, the risk versus reward for a gas main. It's like, right, we're going to turn the gas off and, but equally as a result, I run the risk of getting myself blown up if I was a saboteur, and I'm not. Electricity, very similar. You run the risk of electrocuting yourself, but we've seen the tactic with electricity stations now. You just pile a load of wood up against them and chuck a match on it. Maybe a bit of petrol to help. Remember the fire triangle, ladies and gentlemen. Remember the fire triangle. Paper, plastic, and petrol. 3 P's of fire starting. Yeah, I used to teach that. With the water supply, literally, the water supply, what's going to happen? Everything goes wrong when you're doing some water sabotage. What do? You get wet? Oh, no, I got wet. When you're drilling into these things, especially if you've got like a cordless drill, there's a spark inside that cordless drill, especially if you're going into it. You're not going to do that. You are not going to do that to a gas main. Absolutely not. So this is why I always warn about water. Anyone can go to the shop and buy anyone can go to the shop and buy tool station, screw fix, wicks, B&Q, if you want to pay through the nose, and buy a high-powered, very competent, industrial tool that will 100% cut through these water pipes. So when I see headlines like 11,000 people affected, houses evacuated, electricity turned off, that's what I'm thinking. Because why, if you were the bad guys, right, and you wanted to cause as much destruction on a country, would you send a drone strike or a missile strike or Orishnik? Or would you just pay some criminals, paid criminal gangs? When you think about the components in UAVs and drones or unmanned aerial systems or whatever you want to call them, it's very expensive. Like just the standard, not a standard, but like a good camera. Like a good camera on a UAV, you're looking at like $50,000. Just for a NATO standard camera, I guess. You're looking at like $50,000 just for the camera. Think how much damage you could cause by paying saboteurs or criminal gangs to go and burn substations or crack water pipes with $50,000, which is like 40,000 quid or whatever. You get a lot more bang for your buck, right? You get a lot more bang for your buck if you're doing that. And I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think we've got people in the United Kingdom who may be susceptible to that type of work? Heaven help us all, says, I just made you giddy. I don't know. Was I giddy? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? I just made you giddy and I'm Safley. Don't laugh. A spiritual psychic. I get info from above and you are absolutely right. I have just been eradicated from Facebook for sharing the truth. Well, listen, everybody's welcome here. Everybody's welcome here. I welcome diverse opinions. I do. I welcome diverse opinions on this channel, guys. I do diverse opinions. Hang on, let me close that. Googleinos is saying Australia is calling on all Australians in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi to leave these countries immediately. Everyone knows, guys. Everyone knows. Everyone knows the diddly swizzle's going to go swizzly diddle. What? Okay, right. Look at this situation now, right? Look at this situation, okay? I am going to come on and I'm going to do another live stream on this because I do think it's important. We've just had a potential attack on a mosque, right? Where a white man and a black man, that's what the BBC are saying, went into a mosque, right? And they've gone, and whatever's happened. How do you think the other mosques in Manchester are? What do you think they're talking about now? What do you think they're talking about? What do you think is going to be the outcome of this? We think it's going to happen on Saturday. But what happens to certain communities? What happens in the United Kingdom as soon as those airstrikes go into Iran? What happens? Do you think people are going to be siding with Donald Trump and siding with the United States for wanting to free the hundreds of thousands of Iranians who are out on the streets protesting? Do you think that's going to happen? I would say not. So what do you think is going to happen? And I've been telling you guys, this is going to be one of the, this is going to be one of the, that's going to be a huge trigger point for everyone in the UK. Martino Amani is saying, I am banned from the UK. Why are you banned, Martino? I don't know why Martino's banned. I don't think, listen, if Shabina Begum or whatever her name is can get back in, I don't think anybody can get banned from the United Kingdom, can they? Fiona is saying, right, people are talking with Fiona, right? Fiona, this is the first comment I've seen, but everybody seems to be talking with you. Had them off the east coast of Scotland a few years ago. Are you talking about Russian ships? I will presume you are. Adolf Broski is saying our own. Sorry, that thumbnail's quite. It caught me off guard. I don't even know if that's AI. So Adolf Broski is saying our own MI5 security services are burning churches in the UK and blaming it on our new arrivals. Remember, our government are all Satanists. I don't think that's the case. But where are you getting that from, Adolf Broski? Where are you getting that information from? I don't like. If you can give me more information on that or where you're getting that from, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to entertain that, but like, I don't think that is the case. But if you can give me more context on that, I'd love that. Lisa Jane is saying, Sean, I've been watching a lot of the migrant hotels visits on YouTube, and when the migrants were interviewed, around 90% were Iranian. I've not seen that, Lisa, to be honest. What we do know, though, and what I can comment on that is we've seen various mainstream media news outlets talk about the number of active sleeper cells, known active sleeper cells that are operating in the United Kingdom. And what they've said is they are predominantly Iranian backed. And that's what they're saying. So, comes back to the other question. When, probably on the 28th, If when these airstrikes do go in to Iran and this, and this starts, what do you think the people who live in the hotels, like, Lisa Jane's saying, or whoever, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're just going to sit there and go, oh, look at that's happening? I don't think so, guys. I really don't. Bandagate is saying, good to see the Raven Madhouse is in full swing. And Helen is saying they'll raise the interest rate again, which in turn crashes the market. It's all set up. I think they're bringing it down, actually. I think they're going to bring the interest rate down. Damned Doberman, look, the Damned Doberman Company is saying, I live in a native Scot Protestant area. We've had Irish Catholics, no difference from Muslims. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start to close this down. I'm going to start to close this down. The crux of this live stream has been the developing events in London. Yesterday, we had a church burnt down. Total accident, right? I do think this is in a similar area, but I can't confirm that. In fact, sorry, not last night. What day? We're on Wednesday, so Monday night we had a church burn down. Tuesday night we've had water pipes mysteriously burst, taking down, affecting 11,000 homes. The water's being turned off, the electricity is being turned off, and more pipes are bursting. All right, that's happening right now. That story is developing. A man's been arrested in Manchester after two men, a white man and a black man. That's what the BBC are saying, guys. I think that's racist, but whatever. Are saying that they went into a mosque with one with an axe and one with a knife. That's what the mainstream media are saying. I am going to jump back on very soon, and I'm going to do just a short update on that, guys. I'm just going to do a short update, maybe 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes, I don't know. But listen, guys, you guys are fantastic. I'm going to be back on later today. If you're on and you've not done so already, please make sure you hit those buttons down below. The like, follow, comment, subscribe. I don't know what they are. They're down there. They're down there somewhere. I don't know what they are, but make sure you hit them. It's free. What's free in this world, guys? I don't know. Not much, right? Not much, especially if you live in the United Kingdom. So I'm going to turn it off now. I'll be straight back on in like less than 10 minutes, and I'll be talking. I'll be giving you guys context about this man arrested in the mosque in Manchester, because that is a big thing, and that's going to be a developing story now as we move forward. So anyway, guys, I am going to close it down now, and I'll be back on shortly, and I'll be on later on today. And if not, my normal times are 10 in the morning and 8 in the evening. Dobro ranok.